Since the battery rebate came into effect, hardly anybody even asks about solar panels anymore. This video shows why you really should care. G'day everyone, Dan and Matt here from GI Energy. Today we're talking about solar panels. Something that every client used to ask us right away was, what type of panels can you use? What type of panels are best for me? Doesn't really get asked anymore since the battery rebate was introduced. Everybody just wants to know about batteries, sometimes the inverters that go with the batteries. So we're going to go through a bunch of different topics here and show you what the differences are between really good panels and more budget panels. I want to start though with a case study just to give you some real world data rather than data sheet data of systems that we installed last year. So I'm going to pull that up on screen and talk you through exactly what we saw there between two what we would consider premium panels. So these were both HJT panels, which just means that technically they're the same kind of panel. One of them was a Phono Solar panel and one of them was an REC Alpha panel. Now the installs weren't identical, but they were pretty close in size. The Phono system was 14.96 kilowatts and the REC Alpha was 13.94. Both had the same inverter. The Phono panels were installed on a roof pitch that was actually 4 degrees south, so they're tilted slightly in the opposite direction that you want them to be in. And the Alpha panels were on some on the northern roof and most of them on the western roof there with a 24-degree pitch, both just around the corner from each other, so they're fairly close. What we did was look through and calculate what the performance of those systems was in terms of a per kilowatt production of per kilowatt hours of production per kilowatt of solar installed. So you can see there from the two charts that the Phono solar panels produced 208 kilowatt hours per kilowatt of solar installed. When you compare that to the REC Alpha panels, it was 169 kilowatt hours per kilowatt of solar installed. So with two panels that technically on a data sheet look very similar, there was a 23% difference with one of those panels. And crucially, on the data sheet, the REC Alpha panel actually looked like a better panel. It was a lot more expensive at the time of install, probably somewhere in the region of 10 to 15 cents from memory of additional cost per watt to install, but yet the Phono system outperformed by 23%. So that should give you a little bit of feedback as to why panels are worthwhile spending some time talking about, and then we're going to go through now a bunch of other metrics. But Phono panels have always performed well, haven't they? And I guess that case study just shows that two premium panels can operate very differently.
Yeah, I think over the years we've often done a few of these comparisons, obviously as panels have improved and the efficiency percentage has obviously improved over time as well.
Yeah. But
I think regardless of the type of cells or the build-up of that Phono panel, without getting overly technical, each time they've improved it over the years, they've consistently had a higher output.
Yeah.
And that's why they've been obviously sort of go-to choice where possible for, well, since what, 2013, 2014, so it's been a long time. So as you said, yeah, a lot of people are sort of putting that to the side because the battery's getting all the focus. So one thing that we do look at, obviously in real terms, obviously being in Australia, is the heat performance of the panels, because obviously your roof there, especially in summer, can get pretty warm, 65 plus degrees, up to 75 degrees in some areas.
Yeah.
So ultimately you'd expect there to be some losses in any panel, good or bad, given that heat. So the differences that we found through testing there are on a premium high-end panel, about a 9.6% reduction when the roof is reaching that sort of temperature. But with a more sort of standard moderate panel, closer to 12%. So that's a 240 watt difference on a 10 kilowatt system. Pretty significant.
That's quite a lot, yeah.
And ultimately, how that would really align with real world is the time of day where the roof is getting to that heat is going to likely be mid-afternoon, late afternoon in the summer. So most likely when there's more usage in the home, aircon, obviously where that power is more valuable. And ultimately, if you've got a battery there as well, it just means that hopefully you're tapping into that battery a little bit later, because a better panel is still producing more power at the time it's needed. So I guess the hotter it gets, the bigger the gap between the good and the average panels. So definitely something really worth looking at. So following on from the heat tolerance of the panels, there is also a difference in the degradation of the panels over time.
Yeah.
So that is the amount that panel output will decrease year on year, obviously over the life of the panel. On a premium panel, that's 0.25%, pretty low. On a more sort of value budget panel, it's 0.4%. So over the life of the system, 20-25 years, and that's obviously compounding over time, that's a huge amount. So a premium panel will generate somewhere in the region of $3,000 to $5,000 of extra energy over their lifetime, based on a 2026 average rate for power. So it's quite a significant amount, and ultimately something that really needs to be considered when looking at the panel you want to use.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to be clear, what we're doing there is we've taken basically a list of all the most used panels in Australia, and we've looked at what the best and worst cases there for the degradation, and same with the temperature coefficient for the last round. There's also a really big difference in the efficiency of panels, which is more important if you've got a smaller roof. But now, as people are building the mini power station, as we call it, for their home, you really want to maximise your roof area more often than not. So efficiency does matter more than most people think. And if you look at the top panels with an efficiency of close to 25%, thereabouts, and then a more sort of standard efficiency rating of the commonly used panels in Australia is about 22-23%. That doesn't sound massive, but again, if you're looking at it over a significant period of time, and you can get a few more panels on the roof, or even an extra panel, which is close to a 500 watts of extra difference, that makes a really big difference overall to what you're going to get out of your system over the lifetime. Also, the reliability of the panel is a big variable, and with the research that we did, it actually showed that the reliability hasn't really improved. It's actually got a bit worse. And what I mean by that is, if you look at the testing, 83% of the manufacturers that we looked at, and we can put a list of them in the description, failed at least one reliability test. So that could be due to thinner glass, bigger panels, obviously trying to cut costs, which is fair that they're trying to do that. What that basically results in is potentially micro cracks, moisture ingress, junction box issues. So the panels are getting more efficient, but they're not necessarily getting more reliable. And the panel is the engine that fills your battery. Yeah. So you really need a solid, reliable panel that's with an array that's big enough to cater for the battery that you install.
Yeah, absolutely. A question we often get asked by a lot of people looking into solar panels for the first time is, are they tier 1?
Ah, yes.
And this might be a myth-busting moment. I remember that show from years ago.
You loved it, didn't you?
I did like it. Tier 1 is purely a financial scale.
Yeah.
It's got absolutely nothing to do with the product quality.
Yeah.
And it's certainly a barometer to set, but you'd absolutely hope that any solar manufacturer or any equipment of any kind has some financial stability, and that the company producing them can get finance. But it doesn't mean the panel won't fail.
Yeah.
It's got absolutely zero to do with the panel quality, testing, time in business, anything else.
It's been misused, hasn't it, in the industry? People have pushed that as, look, this is a tier 1 panel, you're not going to have any dramas.
Yes.
Even in some tender scopes for some quite large projects, they quite often specify must be tier 1, and I think whoever's putting that paperwork together, probably even they don't understand what it means.
No, and I mean, look, that as you said, that term's been bandied around for many years.
Yeah.
On a lot of the old sort of cookie cutter social media posts and grabs and stuff, you'd see it would just say tier 1 panel.
Yeah.
Any generic panel that's obviously available at the time. So I guess in summary there, tier 1 doesn't mean it's a good panel by any stretch.
Yeah.
It just means that the company's of a reasonable or large size, that they have some financial backing at that time. So definitely scratch a bit more beneath the surface if someone's telling you tier 1, tier 1, tier 1, because it doesn't translate to anything to do with quality, essentially. I guess what follows on from that one pretty well is the warranty of the panels is only as good as the company behind them.
Yeah.
It depends on that financial stability, which, going back to that tier 1, that was at the time it was assessed previously, which could be years and years before. The key really is there a local Australian presence for the warranty of the panels. If something goes wrong, you want to know you can deal with somebody pretty easily and pretty quickly.
Yeah.
If you're chasing that overseas, or the installer's no longer around, it's going to be quite problematic, and then getting somebody to replace panels that are already on the roof is quite time consuming and quite costly. A lot of the jobs we do are doing stuff like that, and it's not necessarily a quick and easy job that some may think. So There's a lot of great brands in Australia that have a great local presence. Phono Solar, Canadian Solar, Phono Solar, ACO, REC, established brands that have been around a long time, with obviously a really good support network locally of employees, offices, and backup there if something does go wrong. So these panels have really long warranties now.
Yeah.
There's not anything else I can think of in the world that we buy that has a warranty of 25 to even 30 years now in some cases. So it looks great on paper, don't get me wrong, but that 25 to 30 year warranty is only worthwhile if the company's around. If they're not here in 5-10 years time, it was just a piece of paper that it was written on originally. And sadly, in doing this since 2011, we've seen that happen time and time again.
Yeah.
And it's just quite frustrating when that does happen, because there's some great panels out there that have got really solid warranties. You just need to do a little bit more research on them, I think.
Yeah, definitely. The other thing's price as well. That has to come into it. And we hear people say in the industry, all panels are the same now, and for all the reasons we spoke about, we don't think they are.
Yeah.
But also the price does vary a fair bit. So from sort of even if you're looking at the reputable manufacturers, if you're looking at the kind of most cost-effective or cheapest one there, compared to a more premium panel, it could be 10-12 cents a watt difference. And that's pretty significant.
Yeah.
That's a purchase price, so that's excluding GST. And if you're doing quite a large system, you can do the maths yourself. It adds up quite quickly.
Yeah.
And price doesn't always mean quality either. So the cheapest system doesn't always mean the best return on investment. I think also what a lot of people don't realise is how strong the link is between the battery and the panel. You've got that overall ecosystem there. Your panels have, as you said before, 25, sometimes 30-year warranties. Your battery only has a 10-year warranty. So your panels will outlive your battery potentially by 15 years, that most people spend so much more time looking at the battery. And I think it's just because of that subsidy. And it's the exciting part now.
Yeah.
But the panels are really important.
Absolutely. Yeah, without obviously a solid panel in there for a long time, you're not going to generate enough power to fill the battery.
Yeah.
If you can do it once and do it right, fill the roof as budget fits and roof space allows, then it's just dealt with.
Yeah.
It's not straightforward to add panels later.
Yeah.
It's actually quite complex because of the way the inverters are designed with the different trackers and strings. So Australia makes panel choice way more important, as we've covered before. Really high UV, heat, salt. Obviously a lot of homes that we install are pretty close to the water. And then we get some pretty crazy storms as well.
Yeah.
A lot of the questions in, the recent few months have been on the back of some pretty crazy hailstorms that have obviously caused a lot of damage to a lot of systems. Some panels have held up better than others, and some panels more stringently test their modules to larger sized hail. So definitely something worth speaking to the company and consultant about if that's something that's obviously prevalent in the area you live in.
Yeah.
But ultimately, I think wherever it is in Australia that I've been, it's pretty warm.
Yeah.
And the UV can be very strong in the summer as well. So, like anything, if I'm outside for 10 hours in the day, I'll get pretty red.
Pretty bronzed.
Maybe a little bit bronzed, but yeah, more likely a little bit burnt. So you definitely need a panel that can withstand the harsh conditions that we have here.
Yeah, absolutely. It's worth spending some time on. And I think if people have sort of made it this far into the video and they want specific brands, we've got lots of videos talking about the best solar panels, which you can find easily on our channel. But to give you a bit of feedback there, I'll put in the description to this video all the ones that have fed into the data for this video.
Yeah.
The ones we use now more than anything is ACO, Phono Solar, Trina and Canadian, really, and that's been pretty stable now for a while. ACO are probably the newest entry to that because they're the newest entry into the market here.
Yeah.
But those are the ones that we feel are better quality overall. And just spend the time to do it, I think is the take-home message here. As we say in all our videos, if you can find a consultant that's willing to do a proper design with you, talk to you about your load profile, reverse engineer that into the battery size, then talk about your backup requirements, but don't leave the panel out. Spend some time talking about the panel. Obviously budget plays a big part of this, so make sure you're getting it right, you're doing it once, you're doing it properly, and you're not having to come back and do silly repairs or replacements later. We're going to put a link to our battery guide to the description, in the description to this video. That's a free resource that people have found pretty useful. And if you've got any direct questions, feel free to get in touch with us or just hit us up in the comments and we'll do our best to reply as quick as we can. Thanks for watching.
Thank you.